Hi everyone, I'm Sinan from carinspected, and today I wanted to go through a walkthrough of how to rebuild a Bosch alternator. I'm gonna flip the screen. Here we have a N54 BMW alternator, so it's manufactured by Bosch, and here's the replacement voltage regulator. And the alternator is open. So I'm not gonna go through the steps of how to open it. I'll walk you through it though. But first, what do you need for the alternator rebuild? So for Bosch, most Bosch alternators, you're gonna need the bearings. Make sure you get good quality bearings. Don't get anything cheap. Those bearings are gonna help you keep that alternator running for a long time without having any noises or issues or failures. So invest in good quality. These two, at the time of this filming, I think they were about 35 bucks Canadian, so it's not too bad. You need the slip ring. The slip ring, the way to measure, this is for the N54. There are a lot of different slip rings measurements, even for Bosch alternators. So you want to look at, this is not very precise, but it's decent, it's close enough to make the order. And then you want to make sure that you get the height correct as well. So you take the measurement all the way to here, and we have 43.5, so that's the height right here. And these two are important measurements when looking for these. I'm gonna provide a link on where you can find most of them. Actually, it's just copper. It's copper rings. It's important to have them. So I'll show you the old ones. These are the old ones on a car that had, or they were removed when the vehicle had approximately 190,000 kilometers. So about 100,000 miles, I'd say. They're not in a bad shape, but since you're opening this up, might as well just change it. So, what else? You need a voltage regulator. Again, invest in a good voltage regulator. So, I'll show you the original, if I can access it. There's the original one. You can see it's a little bit different, but this is Bosch, and the part number is interchangeable. I believe it's 044 or 045. One is for 150 watt, or 150 amp, sorry, and one is for 180. But please do your research and invest on the correct one. They're not too expensive either. Then, to open the alternator, first things, you need to get one of these. This is a socket that is made for the for this. This is the one-way travel. So it's like a bicycle gear. It only travels in one direction where it pushes the whole assembly, but then the assembly can continue to turn while this is stationary or at lower speed, but this continues to turn at higher speeds. This is at lower speed. So it just helps to stabilize the belt assembly on the engine. So if this seizes, you're going to have all kinds of vibrations. I'll just show you quickly so you can see. If I try to see here, it's turning in one direction, but it's not turning in the other direction. I had a big problem removing this one, so I have another one that's completely dismantled. I had to cut it. I'm not going to go into the details of why this happened, but here's the insides of it. You do have a ring here that allows the rollers, which are here, to travel in one direction. So there's a bunch of rollers here. There's an inner race. And then you have the center here. This is basically this here. And then you have the thread inside. You can see it's all mangled up. It was a nightmare to remove, but anyway, it's out. But I wanted to show what's inside. Slip ring. So to remove the alternator, well, I think that's pretty much it. That's what you need. So the slip ring, you need the one-way travel, or the clutch pulley, they call it. You need the bearings, and you need a voltage regulator. So to remove the voltage regulator, very simple. On this specific Bosch alternator, you have the two long ones on the outside, and then you have the two short ones on the inside. This is the actual regulator, and you can see that it still has some life left in it, but I'm just changing it since we have everything open anyway. So this is the new versus the old. There's still plenty of life left in it. Anyway, that one is a bit, yeah, this one is, it has more in it. Anyway, so yeah, this is something. To remove it, very simple, very straightforward. Initially there is a cover that goes on like so. You remove it by removing 1, 2, and 3. Let me get you the size. The size is a T20. Once the voltage regulator is out, you want to remove the clutch pulley. And I basically used an impact here. Let me just get it out. There you go. I used an impact on this. It does also have a triple square insert here, and the recommendation is to have the triple square long here, and then have this here. And you have to basically rotate them opposite each other, and it should come off. It didn't work out for unrelated reasons, so I had to cut it open and clean the thread, rethread it, and everything. And then that would expose the top part here. So this would be here, and of course there is a bearing that's inside. You need to remove these bolts to remove them. But these bolts, when you don't apply torque to it right away. You want to put the socket and just tap it with a hammer, just so it'll make it easier to remove them after. So just a couple of taps on each one, and it should be removed afterwards easily. Then you have these to remove, the bolts here that go on here. And then you'd want to push this assembly. Well, actually, once this is removed, you'd want to push this assembly out from the center here. And that is done using a 3-jaw puller. You'd want to apply it, the 3-jaw puller here, and it's pushing through the center. It should come off relatively easy, and this would come out from the inner race of the... This is the old one. So basically, you're pushing this out. It's actually this way. Okay? And there's also another washer, and the washer sits this way. It's not this way. So you see the difference. It sits this way once everything assembles back. Okay. And then this would come out, but you have to be careful. So you remove the back end, you remove the bolts, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you pull this one out. So there is another small bearing here. This is the bearing, and it would sit there, and it pushes, it basically sits here. This would completely slide out, so you can pull this part apart, and then you're left with this and this connected to each other. You have the big bearing that's sitting here. Then you have to push this out, but be careful because you can damage the bottom if you don't. If you're not careful, you need to grab it as it falls or as it's pushing down. So that's important. Then open the screws, then push the bearing out. Actually, in a few cases, in most cases I would say that I worked on these, I was just able to push, once I removed the bolts, I was able to just push through and the bearing just came out with both hands, and it just came out. Clean this, absolutely. You need to clean it properly. Then you need a 2-jaw puller to remove the bearing from here. I'll be right back. This is the 2-jaw puller that I used. It worked very well. It's 40 by 80. It's sufficient to pull the small bearing out of here. The bearing is pushed in quite deep, so you wanna make sure that you have a thin puller, and you don't want to damage these two windings, or these two spots, which are wires that connect to this here and here. We'll get to that in a second. This slip ring only sits one way. There is a ridge that sits only one way. Once the bearing is out, you can actually just destroy this. You can grab it with pliers and just twist it and take it out. And then you'd want to cut open. It's actually not really that hard. It's again, I need to pause. Here we are. So this, if the alternator is original, this would be kind of crimped, I would say, and like this would be. This is pushed in all the way, and it's just kind of like squeezing the wire. These are the wires. There's one wire here, and the other wire is there. Once these are removed, what I do is I just take a screwdriver and I wedge it in the hole. So imagine this is all closed, right? That leaves a slot just here. I would put a screwdriver there, and I would just tap it very gently and then pry out the wire out of the way, so the wire would be standing on both sides. You want to make sure that you're very careful with that wire. It's not easily cut and doesn't easily fail, but just be careful with it. And so open, and then with a small screwdriver lift that bit of wire, just lift it up and out on both sides, and then you'll be able to just destroy it, just destroy that plastic piece. So just put a screwdriver, small screwdriver, in this wedge here and here, and just open it, and then the whole thing should come out very easily. This one should come out by grabbing and twisting, and it would just come out. You'd put in the new one, you'd solder, so you would close these, and then solder the wires in. Make sure that you tap it lightly. Don't break anything, don't damage anything. This one has a small crack here, but it's only on the outer. Let me just show you in comparison. Like you see, it's just here. It's not that big of a deal. So it gets pushed in. Solder. Push in the new bearing, so the small one. Push it in here. When you tap the new one in, make sure you tap only the inner race. So put a long socket and just tap in all the way till it sits at the bottom. Don't tap the outside race, tap only the inside race, tap this metal only. So use a socket that is the correct size. And then what I do is I just put this, I heat this up, and I put this, or the new bearing here, I just put it in a freezer, leave it for about half an hour, put this in an oven, just heat it up a little, and then simply throw this in here, and that would just drop right in, and then I would put the bolts. Of course, after cleaning the whole assembly, I would put the bolts back. Clean this as well, the inside, just to make sure that you don't have any interference or any problems. Then you have these, you have this bearing here, you have this bearing in place. Then the system will be ready for installation. So you'd have to slide this through here. Once this is put back, okay, then slide this on top. Of course, remove these, slide it on top. Make sure that you clean the area here. Just that plastic, grease it, clean it, just put a very thin layer of grease, and it should help with the installation. Then you have pretty much this and this assembled together, and then you'd want to install the regulator. The way the regulator sits is it would sit like so. Okay, you'd want to make sure that you're as close to center in the travel, in the slip ring contact. As you can see from the old slip ring, it was almost center, a little bit on top. That's fine. That will work. It'll still serve. It'll still do its intended purpose. But if you tap this too hard and you push it down too hard, you might actually collapse part of the slip ring, and it would cause this to actually sit something like that. And that's not, well, I mean, up to here, maybe it'll work. But then if you go here, it won't work anymore, or it will cause all kinds of problems. So you want to stay near the center as much as possible. Bolt it in, and you're done with the back end of the alternator. Then you flip it, and then you install the clutch pulley. The clutch pulley, based on what I have seen, cars with much higher mileage. So I've seen some failure reports of the earlier model of these, but I haven't seen these fail. For the N54, at least for the engine, for that Bosch alternator, they don't fail as far as I have seen. But this is not expensive anyway. It's about 60 bucks Canadian. So, and you can get the OEM, which is what I highly recommend getting anyway. So the manufacturer is INA. So you can get a replacement, and the replacement can be found at Rock Auto, so as the regulator as well. And just make sure you get the correct part number. And yeah, that's it. Once you put the new slip ring in, or sorry, the new clutch pulley in, you need to torque it. So to torque it, you have to have the triple square and the clutch tool. So the triple square would be the longer version of this. It just needs to be long. And then this as well. So the way it would sit is something like that. This one, it would be much longer, so make sure you get a long one. And then you would basically twist them, torque them against each other. I just use a torque wrench. Make sure that you torque it. I believe it is somewhere between 60 and 70 Newton meter. Somewhere in there. I'll put it in the description probably. And that's it. Yeah, you have a rebuilt alternator. Of course, spin it a few times just to make sure there's no noises or anything like that. Some of the slip rings, when you buy them, they would have some left out plastic, so make sure you clean it. So I'll just show you a new one that's never been used. You see here, you have a little bit of plastic that's still protruding. So imagine if this was sitting a little bit too high, it would hit that plastic piece as it's rotating, and it would cause the connection to miss and be incomplete. So make sure you clean these off. The way to clean them is just with a small Sharpie or sharp knife, and you just cut them and clean them. Just the plastic. You don't need to be any aggressive with this at all. And that's it. That's how you build the alternator on, I would say, most Bosch alternators, the modern ones with the clutch pulley. And this specifically is for an E60 BMW. It works for the E90 and the E91, E92, E60, E61, which are around 2007, 2008 to 2010 BMW 3 Series and 5 Series alternators for the twin turbo engine. Well, I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you'll be able to tackle this job by yourself. And let me know if you have any questions. Leave them in the description or in the comment section below. And thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next video.